2 cards. Hey everybody, Ro Panuganti here, and we are probably in the weirdest video I'll have made ever, or at least in a while. This is going to be a fun video for people who have no idea what Yu-Gi-Oh is, people who used to know what Yu-Gi-Oh is when they were in the 3rd grade, and maybe some people who know what it is now and just want to watch someone they're familiar with or not familiar with discover it all over again. For those of you who don't know, Yu-Gi-Oh was an anime and a manga series that started in 1996. It actually began as a manga, and this manga series was pretty cool. It was run in Shonen Jump, which is a very popular publication for popular manga aimed at young males and, you know, guys, I guess in 4th grade, 5th grade. And that's when I found out about it. I actually got the first volume of Yu-Gi-Oh, the manga, through a Scholastic book fair, if you remember those. And of course, the anime took off from there, and it became centered around one game in particular, the one that resonated most with readers, which was, of course, the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game, also known as Duel monsters in the show. Eventually, this card game was so exciting and very popular in the very early publication of the manga that they decided to make an original trading card game with the same rules that are in the manga. Except they cheat a bunch and it's really confusing, and you get all these crazy combos and things happen in the show that don't happen in the actual card game. When I was a kid, all of it excited me. I was just still getting into different anime that were out at the time, like Pokemon, things I was allowed to watch. Of course, Yu-Gi-Oh comes along and all these kids are talking about these new card games. I, of course, was really excited about the Pokemon card game at the time, but all of a sudden everyone starts telling me there's a show, if you check it out, I think you'll like it. And I went over for a sleepover, watched the first episode, and I was hooked. It was really cool to see all these different cards and different characters who had like themed cards based around their personalities. And I thought that would be really cool for me to get into as well. At the time, you could buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards for, I don't know, $7, $8, and get a full deck of cards based on different characters in the show with their favorite cards and certain combinations that would be easy to use. I don't have to explain this to a lot of people who already know Yu-Gi-Oh, but that's kind of the high level of it. Now, Yu-Gi-Oh became a card game, so it has monster cards which are used to attack your opponent and subtract their life points. It's kind of like your heart. If you think of it like chess, it's kind of like taking away pieces, but it's just a simple number. That number is usually 8,000 points, and each monster has a certain number for its attack. So you try to have the monsters with the most attack to beat your enemies. Now there are spell cards which enhance monsters or give you special effects to win your duel, and there are trap cards to surprise your opponent and protect yourself from being attacked. With me so far? That's my high level of what the heck Yu-Gi-Oh is and, of course, how it got started. Now for me, personally, I love Yu-Gi-Oh! I actually moved to Japan around 4th grade, which was sort of like the highlight of Yu-Gi-Oh! In America, and Japan was still feeling it, but a lot of people were kind of moving on to Duel Masters, Magic the Gathering, other popular hobbies for kids that age. So I was really excited, I loved it. I wasn't a competitive player though, so I started losing at the schoolyard now and then, and it was actually quite tough, and there were more and more cards. So I sort of fell out of things with the anime sort of closing out, and the cards weren't as popular, and people, you know, stopped liking things. Luckily, in this year, 2023, it's okay to have basically any hobby socially. Like, people are more excited than ever to get into board games, card games, video games, anime, movies, whatever it is that you're passionate about. Why I'm doing this video in particular and getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh after so long? Well, I hadn't really known anybody else who was trying to get back into old hobbies that are now, you know, getting exciting again. But my wife Allison started getting interested in Pokemon cards, which I also used to collect. And she wanted to try doing some fun videos of unboxing them, but making it into a game, something that would be actually interesting to watch. So what we ended up doing is we actually got a couple booster boxes, just like this Yu-Gi-Oh one, but for Pokemon, and she would rank them based on suggestions from me or the chat, like how good would this Pokemon be as a hotel guest, or what's their favorite TV show. If you're gonna get back into Pokemon, let me try getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'll teach her how to play, and that's what we're gonna end up doing, just as a light casual thing to get back into this card game. So what I have here is a booster box, which contains a bunch of little sleeves of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Legends of the Blue Eyes White Dragon pack, which is basically just themed cards around the very first part of the anime and the manga. These are cards that I have not seen in a long time, but they're also much simpler. Over the years, Yu-Gi-Oh! Spun off into different anime, and with each anime, there were new rules, new ways to play the game, and unfortunately, a lot of confusing new ways to play the game. There's meta, there's complex ways of playing cards, so whenever you draw a card, you might need 5 or 6 more. And a lot of the competitive scene that I've been able to observe as a newbie returning to the scene is really overwhelming. And it doesn't look as much fun as, just me playing the original game. Maybe that makes me old, but I also just want to have fun with it. I'm not trying to join tournaments. And now I'm really excited to tap into a hobby again, and I'm gonna share that with you. So I'm gonna basically format this like an unboxing, and I'm gonna chit chat about the cards, but I'm also gonna talk a little bit about what it was like playing Yu-Gi-Oh! When it first came out, and some of my hopes. And then hopefully I might be able to put together some duels with my wife Allison, where we'll just play with the original cards and kind of explain it. Without further ado, I've got a second camera here. Check out this beautiful legacy of the Blue Eyes Dragon. We're gonna open up packs, and I'm just gonna kind of talk through the cards as I recognize them, as I don't recognize them, and share a few stories. So full disclosure, I did open this box just to make sure that I was really, really eager to. This is almost exactly what I remember. I would go to Walmart or Target or Toys R Us, and you'd get one of these little packs. And it was the most exciting thing. They have a distinct smell. And what was great is you'd get 9 cards in every pack, and usually one of them was a rare card. This rare card may just be special because it's from the anime, but it might also mean that it can be used for a really cool effect, or it's just a rare card, something that's not common. But what I like about card games, ideally, is that they don't really, let's get a good view of that, they don't really force you to get the next best card to beat your opponent. It's not like if you pay your way, you can win, at least in theory. Someone's gonna disagree in the comments, I'm sure, but again, as someone who does not care about competitive play, who does not like meta, who doesn't play fighting games or do like online competitive stuff anymore, I used to get into it, but now I just wanna have fun and learn the game. So it's just really nice to know that if we play with just these packs, the cards are quite simple. There is luck of the draw, I'm not gonna deny that. So here are the first cards that I got from 2 packs. I'm gonna start with the coolest one because I've never owned this card. It's Gaia, the Dragon Champion, which is of course a fusion card if you're familiar. It means you've combined 2 monsters in the game with a magic card, if you're lucky to have those 3 elements. And then you can summon a card that has stronger attack, sometimes special effects, and so on. Which is really cool, and it's obviously holographic, which is exciting for me. Then quite a lot of monsters. We have stuff like Dissolve Rock, Armail, Misairu Zame, which this one's kind of funny because Allison noticed immediately it's missile as a cognate in Japanese, and Zame, which is of course shark. So it's kind of on the nose there. I believe this card is considered one of the worst cards, Fusionist, and when it comes to best and worst cards, I try not to get, again, into the weeds, but this card is fused with 2 pretty darn weak monsters. And if you're still new to Yu-Gi-Oh! And following along with me, the key elements to note in a card, of course, are its attack and defense. Attack is how, the number that it has to take away your opponent's life points or destroy your opponent's monster, if it has more. The monster with most attack beats the other one. And then defense. So if a card is placed sideways for any reason, it'll protect you from losing life points in a battle, but you have to use the defense number, which is oftentimes smaller. So this card has a really low amount for both, which is kind of bad for a fusion monster, so it's probably not worth using. But the artwork is pretty cool. You have a number of stars. If you have 1, 2, 3, 4, it's usually an indicator of how strong it is. And if you have a monster with 1, 2, 3, or 4 stars, you can play it on the field during your turn. Everyone's allowed 1 regular kind of summon or placement of a monster per turn. If it has 5 or 6, you need to sacrifice one of your monsters already on the field from a previous turn in order to play that much stronger monster. 7 and 8, it's 2 monsters. I didn't realize I was going to be like giving the rules to Yu-Gi-Oh! And there's probably a lot of videos about that, but hey, there's only one with me. Just like a lot of varieties of monsters, and none of these have effects. one of the things that I've noticed from diving in as a noob is I've noticed almost every monster seems to have an effect now, which means you need to read it. It has another card that might be affected by it. And for a beginner, they need to read every single card that they play before they can use it, which to me might not be the most accessible thing because you're focusing on so many different elements. You're not really like in the moment of playing this game. Now this is a magic card, you can tell by the green background, of course, and this is Wasteland. And it also has a little emblem here, which is a field card. That means that it affects your side of the field and monsters can be altered, they can get stronger. This one in particular, Wasteland, boosts dinosaur, zombie, and rock monsters, so they get 200 more attack and defense. So playing one of these cards, when you know your deck has a lot of those monster kinds, you know, dinosaurs, or what did I say? Dinosaurs, zombies, and rock, can go well together. Umi is the same thing, but for water, and Umi, of course, means ocean in Japanese. Again, a lot of on-the-nose stuff there. This card damages your opponent's life points, sparks. Masaki, the legendary swordsman. This is a classic card from the anime because the character Joey, or Jonochi in the Japanese version, has an affinity to it for some reason. And this card can also be fused to summon the Flame Swordsman, which is another card that he likes quite a lot. Part of why I'm excited about doing this again is revisiting the anime and kind of seeing how it holds up and reading the manga again. I can tell like there was actually quite a lot of characterization, whereas in the dub, of course, a lot of the lines are just awkward anime talk. They come across sillier and less serious. So you don't necessarily appreciate, like, this is a group of friends that are playing, yes, children's card games, but they all have different tastes and different stories. Joey comes from a difficult household and he has a sister who needs eye surgery. Like, it could be this very dramatic, deep anime if such a thing were to exist, and it kind of just doesn't go there. There are cards where you can equip monsters back in the original game again, like this silver bow and arrow. And cards like this were important because they can boost very specific kinds of monsters, strengths, or even other effects. This one is, I think, a regular rare. Again, you're watching a video of a card game collecting beginner, so to speak. But I believe this one, it says target 2 monsters in your opponent's graveyard and banish them. Now the wording banish or remove from the field means that if your monster is beaten by battle, normally, it goes into a pile called the graveyard. It's a place where you can't really get the cards back without some sort of effect or a magic card. Banishing usually means you will never see that card again for the rest of the game. So it can be quite fatal, especially if you banished cards that your opponent might want to summon using a magic card called Monster Reborn. And that card, which I don't have here of course yet, allows you to bring back a monster from the grave. We have Mammoth Graveyard, another card that's played in the very original Yu-Gi-Oh! Lesser Dragon, One-Eyed Shield Dragon. And of course in the name it says Shield Dragon, and if you can see the defense is 1300, which is I guess high for the original game. Another thing I noticed about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a lot of monsters just have crazy high attack points now. So there's not one monster in particular everyone's trying to summon today. People are using magic cards, trap cards, all sorts of complex, different cards that I haven't heard of, and the value of a lot of the weaker monsters goes down. So when I play with just these cards, we're gonna actually get to see how good they might have been in the very early days of this card game. So now let's go through all this sweetness and I'll see if we get some cool cards. So let's check out some of the cards from this pack. We've got King Fog. We've got Trial of Nightmare, which is like a sword sticking into a little coffin there. That's fun. Vile Germs. Here's another equipped card for plant-type monsters. So this card will allow you to boost up any plant monsters by 300 attack and defense, which is cool. Pot of Greed. Now, I didn't realize this, but this is how you know that I've been out of whatever Yu-Gi-Oh! Loop there's been. So Pot of Greed is a card that's been banned quite a lot because it allows you to draw 2 cards. And in every scene of the anime, they usually tell you what a card does as the character plays it. I think this is genius and one of the most important parts of the anime to take away. This complex game that became like this humongous marketing scheme to sell you cards is full of complex effects, and you don't quite follow how the game is played. It's like watching football for the first time, American or the regular one. You don't know all the rules, so you need someone to explain it, even if it seems silly to. And Pot of Greed gets explained every time. It's a very simple effect, and it's very, very, very effective. It lets you draw 2 cards, which, as you get into the more competitive world, as I understand it, it's kind of a really, really big deal. So Pot of Greed is quite a good card to get 2 cards. And we have the left arm of the Forbidden One. Now, one of the cool things about the first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! As a kid is you learn about its ties to Egyptian mythology, and just in general how inspired that allowed Kazuki Takahashi to be with the cards. Yugi ends up playing against Kaiba, his rival, so to speak, from school to defend his grandpa's honor, and he uses his grandpa's deck. His deck contains a lot of great cards that become Yugi's cards because I guess grandpa just gives him the cards forever. And it contains a set of 5 cards known as Exodia. It's a, I guess, Egyptian monster, perhaps made up for the show, perhaps based on a real sort of deity. And if you get all 5 of these cards in your hand, somehow, by luck, you automatically win. The Furious Sea King. Not to be confused with the Pokemon. Sogen, which is another field card. It boosts Warrior and Beast Warrior monsters by 200 attack and defense. One of the rules I learned very recently, actually, about these field cards is you're allowed to play 2. So you can have 2 different fields going on at once. Rounding out with Petite Dragon and Armored Starfish. Both formidable cards, I think, especially from this sort of pack. There are other moments in that sequence where, in that season, where Yugi is playing against people who are in dry lands, or different characters are just, oh, by the way, we're in the wasteland, so I get a 16.7% boost on my zombie monster. And as a kid, you're like, oh, what a wise duelist this kid is. And, as an adult, you're like, that's cheating. That's cheating. This entire season is just cheating. All right, so this next pack, we have Succubus Knight, which is an interesting looking card, 1650 attack, but it's 5 stars. So again, if you're a noob to Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're wondering what the heck is this monster, 5 stars means you need to sacrifice 1 monster from the field, and then you're allowed to play it. For 1650 attack, which is higher than a lot of the cards here. Next we have Mystical Sheep 2, Dark King of the Abyss. Petite Angel, which is the character Taya, or Anzu's, one of her cards. Ooh, we have a pasta card, Carbonala Warrior. This is a fusion monster. The way you can tell, by the way, is the purple background if you're unfamiliar with Yu-Gi-Oh! And this card is put together by combining M Warrior 1 and M Warrior 2 with a magic card. Now, I haven't pulled too many spell cards or magic cards, I keep saying, because that's the original name. But the card you use to combine everything is called Polymerization. And back on the schoolyard, back in the schoolyard, we used to pray we would have polymerization. If you draw that card, it allows you to combine 2 monsters that you may have in your hand or already on the field into one of these. And that was just so cool. Ooh. This is a great, 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 great card, and I can't believe I have a holographic version of it now. It's called Man-Eater Bug. And this brings us to our next fun mechanic of the game, called setting cards. If you set a card on the field, and I'm gonna move my pile here, you set a card face down, a monster. It means that your opponent doesn't know what it is. So you're protected if you get attacked, because if you have a defensive monster that gets destroyed, you don't lose any of your life points. But you have to flip the monster, or you can flip it during your turn again. And it has a flip effect, which means that when it's flipped, something will happen. And this allows you to target a monster on the field and destroy it, which means you can pretty much just kill whatever monster attacked it. It's a fantastic card, very annoying in the video games or in the original card game. And now we will get to use it, which is just buckets of fun. All right, we have Beaver Warrior, which is another card that many will know from Yugi's deck. And then we have Forest, which, of course, like I mentioned, is another field card where it sets you in the forest and you get some advantages thanks to that. And then we have Basic Insect. Basic Insect, I know, is tied to Weevil, Underwood, or Inspector Haga. 500 attack. It's pretty weak, but I think one of the beauties of early Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that they wanted to teach people how the game worked on such a simple level and keep it exciting. So yes, you have this little green bug. It's kind of weak, But in the show, they show Weevil attaching equipped spells and powering it up. Using multiple cards together was something that they really wanted the kids watching and adults watching to understand so that they could take advantage of it in the real world game, I think. Next pack, we have a spell card finally, Red Medicine. Reminds me of Ocarina of Time and all the red potions. Now, Red Medicine over here is a special card because it heals you. It increases your life points by 500. At the beginning, I mentioned some of the rules. You have 8,000 life points in a standard Yu-Gi-Oh game. So if you get attacked and you have no monsters, you take damage directly. Sorry. And it hurts. It subtracts your life points by the monster's attack points. Pretty simple. So if a monster attacks you with 3,000 attack points and I have 8,000, I have 5,000. Math. This is a way to heal that and hopefully help you survive the duel. Machine Conversion Factory. This is an interesting card again because it's an equipped card, but it only goes with a machine. If you build your deck around certain types of cards, and give it a theme, fairy type, machine type, dinosaurs, you'll want these cards because you have a higher chance of getting a card that you can use this with, which is pretty cool. We have another fusionist. Now we have two. Red Eyes Black Dragon! So, Red Eyes Black Dragon is a very popular card, not just because it's a stronger card from the original card game, but it is the signature card originally of Rex Raptor, who has another hilarious alliteration name. Rex Raptor, or I don't remember his name in Japanese. I'm not gonna show off. He owns this card as part of his dinosaur deck, but it is won by Joey, or Jonochi in the anime, after beating him and kind of not having to use Yugi's help all the time. It was kind of like a cute little episode to teach the characters that they need to become their own people and not rely on each other alone, but to get stronger on their own. I'd like to think that the rates at which we're getting rare cards is actually going up because this is the 25th anniversary. If you go on eBay, and again, if you're like me and you're like, oh, I miss my card games, I wanna feel that thrill again, it's great that they're doing a 25th anniversary of the original packs. And a lot of channels have done these, but as a complete, re-beginner, trying to learn to love Yu-Gi-Oh! All over again, this was a great way to kind of help me get back into just playing with simple rules, and especially to be able to show Allison and kind of walk through how the game worked and make it fun again. We have the Enchanting Mermaid, Dark World Thorns, a lot of like water monsters. One of the most important things I think about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the early video games do this well, is all the not rare cards, all of the non-signatures that you need to sacrifice and summon bigger monsters. They're always interesting. Like this one's sucking its thumb, hard armor. Ooh, Spirit of the Harp. Here's a rare card for you. Spirit of the Harp is 4 stars, which means you can summon it without sacrificing a monster, and it has 2,000 defense. And Hinotama. This is a great card because it just deals damage to your opponent unless they can stop the magic, which is pretty cool. All right, we got a Frenzied Panda here. Monster Egg. Raise Body Heat, something that you can do by just turning up the thermostat, but it gains 300 attacking defense for your dinosaurs. Vile Germs again. Dragon Capture Jar. Now this is a cool trap card. It was used by the Season 1 villain, I believe, Pegasus. And what it does is a trap card. We haven't gotten a lot of those in the original game. I wonder what that says about the original game. And it changes all face-up dragon-type monsters on the field to defense position, and they can't change their battle positions. So if you unleash this when a dragon is attacking you, they're done. They're stuck in defense, and you might be able to take them down. Another beast. Two-Mouth Dark Ruler. I think the first Yu-Gi-Oh card I ever got might have been one of these, and no, Armored Lizard. We got Silver Fang, Misairu Zame again. Hane Hane, which is a rare card here. Hane Hane is another flip card just like Man-Eater Bug. And Hane Hane, I'm guessing it's Hane Hane, I'm sure it's called Hane Hane, like the underwear. Hane Hane has a flip effect, so you play it face down, and I'm not gonna spoil myself on the next cool card, but if you get attacked or on your next turn, you can flip it, and then you can select a monster on the field and return it to the owner's hand. It's not as brutal as destroying it, but it can be quite useful to return a monster to the hand so that your opponent can't play it, or maybe they even have to sacrifice more monsters to put it back. And the next card we drew, fantastic card, this is a rare one, and it is called Dark Hole. Now, if you've heard of Dark Hole, it's a spell card, and that's why it's green. And this destroys all monsters on the field, including your own, yes, but if you don't have any, it works pretty much the same way as another magic card called Raigeki. And this is a great way to sweep out all your monsters from, or your opponent's monsters, and just get rid of everything. Next pack, Urabi. This is a dinosaur monster, and I think it's Urabi or something in Japanese, but it's always cool to have dinosaur cards, and a Wasteland card, of course, to boost the effects. But it's just kind of a bummer sometimes, because I want to play like the old rules. But what's great again is there's websites like Dueling Book, or of course video games like Legacy of the Duelist, where you can choose all the cards that you agree upon and kind of keep things accessible, simple. Doesn't matter if you don't get to use some really cool new card. Ooh, Giant Soldier of Stone. This is a great card. It's been used in Yugi's deck quite a lot. It's I guess whatever rare, semi-rare. I'm just gonna make up stuff now. I mean no offense to people who take this seriously. Giant Soldier of Stone has 2,000 defense and only 4 stars, so it makes a great card for you to play in defense and protect yourself from a lot of common monsters. We have the Witty Phantom. He's quite witty, and I believe this card is also used by Kaiba in the original season of Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is always fun. He's dressed up, he's dressed to the nines. He kind of looks like Link if he was going out like on the town, which is also nice. Ray and Temperature. This is a cool looking card. It's got a sun and a moon, and again, just like I like it as someone who doesn't want to learn too many rules, there's a sun and a moon. Ooh, Yami. This one makes fairy monsters weaker while your spellcaster monsters are stronger, which is really interesting to me. We don't have a lot of field cards that negatively impact monsters yet. Also, did I draw? Nope, I didn't draw a rare one. We have Mystical Moon. It makes beasts do better. So I guess it's kind of like wolves howling at the moon and then they get stronger. Masaki the Legendary Swordsman. Ooh, Reaper of the Cards. I don't actually know this one, but it has a terrible effect that's not written here. It makes you do even more math. So the attack is 1380 and the defense is 1930. It's very, very rare to see cards with like tens digit values. And let's see, this is a Fiend card with a flip effect. When you flipped it, select one trap card on the field and destroy it. If the selected card is set, meaning face down, pick it up, see the card. If it's a trap card, it's destroyed. Otherwise, if it's a spell card, put it back. So one of the things I haven't mentioned in the rules is, of course, when you're playing a standard game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, you have your magic cards on the lower half of your field and monster cards up here. So you have magic cards, which you can activate by playing them, or you can set any card you'd like, whether it's a magic card or a trap card, which you usually have to set. So it could be a magic card or a trap card to your opponent. They don't know. So it's usually advantageous to try to destroy it so that it, you know it's not a trap. But if it's a magic card for any reason, you might want to get rid of it too. M-Warrior 2, which is one of the fusion materials to fuse and summon one of the fusion monsters we got. Dark Gray. Steel Ogre Grotto 1 and One-Eyed Shield Dragon. Fire Yaro, which is, I guess, like Fire Fella, if you were to like colloquially try to translate this, which is fun, 1300 attack. Flame Ghost. Okay, we have a rare Flame Ghost, which I don't think I've ever seen this card. And it's fused by putting Skull Servant and Dissolve Rock together. It only has 1,000 attack, so kind of sucks. But we have both elements, which is pretty cool. And just for the knowledge that it's a rare card is pretty neat. Flame Manipulator. So this is a fun card because we need Flame Manipulator and Masaki the Legendary Swordsman, which I got here. When you combine these, you get the Flame Swordsman, Joey's signature fusion card. Skull Red Bird, which is actually quite a strong card in our batch when you think about it, 1550 attack. Next! M-Warrior 1. I think we have 1 and 2 now. Another Flame Ghost. It's like we got the exact same pack twice. Charubin the Fire Knight, which uses Hinatama Soul, which we have, and Monster Egg. So that's a pretty cool card. Two-Pronged Attack. We have a new trap card. So Two-Pronged Attack is where you can select and destroy 2 of your monsters to destroy 1 of your opponent's monsters. So especially in this original pack, if you're faced with like a really strong monster like Red Eyes, and you have 2 weaker monsters, this is your chance to just get rid of everything. Stop! Defense. We have a new magic card as our rare, and Stop Defense allows you to take a defensive position monster your opponent has and change it to attack. So if you want to deal some real damage, you have to attack a monster in attack position with a stronger monster, or attack them directly. This allows you to kind of have the chance to do that, which is pretty cool. All right, we have Remove Trap. So if your opponent has a trap card that's face up right now, so like a continuous trap card, this could be pretty useful. Ooh, Mystical Elf, and this is like another one of the special holographics. Mystical Elf is another card that has 2,000 defense and only 4 stars. So it becomes really easy. Vile Germs, I see something coming up here. Ooh, okay, another weird fusion monster that isn't necessarily good to have, but it's shiny. We have Darkfire Dragon. And this is Firegrass and Petite Dragon. I definitely have both of those materials. Trap Hole. This is a fundamental card from Yu-Gi-Oh! Trap Hole allows you, when your opponent summons a monster for their turn, or flips summon even a monster, if it has 1,000 or more attack, you can destroy it. It's a great card. Metal Dragon. This is a cool looking card. It kind of looks like it's made of cans. And Metal Dragon is Steel Ogre Grotto 1, which we have, and Lesser Dragon, which we have, and Warrior Goblin's Secret Remedy. This gives you a 600 life point boost, also useful. Fissure. This is a great card. Destroys one face-up monster your opponent controls with the lowest attack. So, pretty much it's just a magic card to destroy monsters, and it's quite useful. Okay, so that was quite a lot of unboxing here, and we've got quite a lot of rare cards here, which is still pretty great. We got the Red Eyes Black Dragon, and I think Gaia the Dragon Champion is definitely like the big one. And of course we got things like Trap Hole, Final Flame, Mystical Elf shinies, a lot of fusion monsters I didn't know existed. I'm slowly wading myself back into this thing that was really important to me at a time, and it's really fun to kind of share that hobby again and also revisit it since it's changed, since it's improved, since there's been a lot of adaptations to it. So now with all these cards, I'm gonna try to make some decks, and most importantly, if you're enjoying this kind of journey, if you didn't know what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is and now you feel like maybe you do, let me know. And if you want to see a duel played out, especially with these cards or some other of my simpler kind of effect cards or my speed duels, definitely let me know in the comments. I'm excited to have opened up a bunch of packs for y'all, and I think this was a really great way for me to kind of reintroduce myself to the fun of checking out Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. If you like this, of course, let me know. You can give it a like or subscribe to this alternate channel where I'm gonna post more gaming related things, fun things that don't necessarily fit into music. And of course, if you enjoyed the Yu-Gi-Oh! Aspect, especially if you are coming from like zero knowledge or like me, watched the show, played the cards, forgot about them, please let me know, and I'd love to do more. I might even have to check out another one of these booster boxes if there's enough interest, maybe if we get like 500 views or something. And next time, I'm going to have to actually play with these cards. So till then, check out my main channel for video game and progressive metal music videos, and of course, stay tuned for more cool random Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff, maybe.